Welcome to the Purpose Chasers podcast, where those who refuse to let odds or naysayers stand in their way come to chase and catch their true calling. I'm your host, Mark Crandall. In each episode, we shine a spotlight on artists and musicians who dare to dream bigger. You'll hear the real-world tactical moves these Purpose Chasers have taken to carve out their legacies, and I'll break down the marketing strategies you can swipe and implement today. Let's dive in and start chasing our purpose. Don't forget to leave a follow on Spotify or wherever you stream from. Let's dive into this episode. Welcome back, Purpose Chasers, to this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. This is take two of this recording as I don't even know what happened. It was introducing the guest that I have today, which I'm really, really excited about. And Howard the Duck came into my mind. So I have Tiffany Hammond with me, who is she's the strong arm behind Mr. Hal Elrod. And I have to give some backstory to you listening. I know that you all know that having Hal on the podcast was a big goal of mine, and you know the strategies that I employed behind actually getting into his world and doing it in a non-dirty way and trying to build a meaningful relationship. Well, as you all know, I did that, and one of the byproducts or the results of building that relationships is I actually became friends with Tiffany, and I really, really do adore her. She is one of the most epic humans. She is a straight shooter. She is a Rottweiler, if you will, not to reference her as a dog in any way, but she is such a heart-centered, non-playing. I would hire her. So Hal, if you're listening to this, I will hire Tiffany, would hire her. And randomly will shoot her messages and say, I need to hire you, or do you know anyone like you, or something along those lines that I keep wanting to hire. So I have Tiffany with me, and I met Tiffany for the first time at QLM, I want to say. Was it at QLM in Austin?
In Austin.
And I had done some value giving inside a Hal's community as my strategy to kind of get in his world without being known as that guy who infiltrated his world. As I've learned in business, is the key to building meaningful relationships with high level players is to get in their world in a way in which they really feel like you value them. And so I did. Hal pulled me out into the hallway, as you all know, and stated that he had heard my name several times and wanted to know what I was up to and what he could do for me. And I said, I would love to have further conversation with you, further dialogue with you. I think my actual wording was, I don't want to shake the hands of the people that you're shaking. I want to watch you shake the hands. And he connected me to Tiffany and said, I want to introduce you to my executive assistant. He did. Tiffany was running like a chicken with her head cut off at this event. She's like, yes, Tiffany will follow up with you, set a meeting up, blah, 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 blah. I thought he was blowing smoke up my butt. Long and the short of it is Tiffany and I had lunch. I don't think there was much conversation about what it would look like for me to get to know Hal. And much more conversation surrounding her as a human. And you are an epic human. So I want to start that out. And backstory for those of you who don't know, Hal met Tiffany while she was a server at a restaurant and hired her. Long and the short of it. So I want to start this interview off. I don't want to call it an interview. We're going to call it a conversation because my relationship with you is much deeper than a freaking interview. The conversation that I want to start, the way that I want to start the conversation off, Tiffany, is by asking you, from the time of you being a server to the woman that you are today, what has the internal transformation been like for you? And what did you have dialogue when you were serving those tables internally? Like knowing that you had hopes and dreams, but being in a position, the position that you were, what was that transition for you?
Yeah, I mean, during that time of my life serving, it was always a means to get me where I wanted to be. So I never went to that job with a dialogue of, I don't want to be here, or I don't want to do this, or I'm not where I want to be. It was just the vehicle driving me to the next step. So I'd say that my internal dialogue is actually pretty similar now. It's just reframed with different priorities and goals. So I think the biggest thing that's changed is I've just grown more into my confidence, and I've grown into more of trusting myself throughout the process of any and every decision I make, even if they blow up. Whereas back then, that wasn't necessarily my strong suit to do so. So I'd say that's the biggest shift.
I don't know how much she will disclose, or we didn't even have this dialogue. She's looking at me in a
Like,
way
what are
right
you
now.
gonna do now?
So what I can imagine most of you don't know, because my guess is most people that get introduced to you in this space have motives, right? So the motive is to get to Hal, to use Hal to get what they want. And I feel very grateful that I got to know you as a person and get to know your backstory. And you can go as far or short into it as you want to, but I'll leave it open-ended here, where she can go into it or she cannot. Like, you were essentially, your story aligns very, very closely to mine, with the internal dialogue and the upbringing and all of the things. Yet you have made, like, you shined a pile of shit into gold, right? And you've become, versus using all of your past circumstances as an excuse to continue to play the victim and to live this lower level life. This is why I so closely align with you. You used all of that as motivation to create the life of your dreams. Is that accurate? Here's
that
the open-ended part. I don't know if she'll go into it or not, but
that
I
pretty
have told her I remember we were eating those wings at,
covered.
what was that?
What's that place? That good
Uh
restaurant in the Domain.
Culinary Chef or Culinary Dropout.
Dropout. There you go. We got it.
Good wings. If you're in Austin, really, really
Okay.
good wings. We're eating food there. She's telling me her story. And I mean, because sometimes I just can't take the therapy hat off. And I really am fascinated by humans, and I want to know their backstory, because I believe that every human's backstory motivates them and sends them in a direction. And she told me her story. And I said, girl, when are you going to leverage Hal to write your own book? So she's just looking. So
I'm waiting. I'm letting you do your thing.
she's squirreling, guys. If you're not watching any of the video recording, I would suggest that you go over to Facebook or Instagram. Cody will clip some of this uncomfortable Tiffany out. So let's fast track, and I want to go to I want to bypass the circumstances, right? And I want to get to the mindset. So you're in the position. So you serve Hal and his wife at dinner, and whatever happens, Hal's doing his thing. You get to a conversation around having further conversation around potentially being employed by Hal. What's the internal dialogue for you at that point?
So I had a really cynical viewpoint of the industry that Hal described. So when he sat down, it was about an hour into the conversation of serving him, and him and his wife had just left San Diego after their first best year ever event. So it was an epic weekend for Hal. He was on a whole new level of success for achieving a goal that was a life goal of his, putting on a live event. Hundreds of people showed up. So he's just, riding this high wave. And when we connected, we immediately, the conversation was very natural, and I came from a customer service background. So I do this and I'm good at it. And I didn't think much of it. So when he offered me a conversation to talk about potentially working for him, I honestly kind of just brushed it off my shoulder. It happened daily as a server, from, you know, somebody asking for you to be a receptionist or a call agent, whatever it is. So I brushed it off and I entertained the idea of reading his book with actually no intention of doing so, because I had Tony Robbins in my mind and I tried that route and it didn't align with me. So I honestly just brushed it off. So my internal dialogue was, I'm flattered by the compliment. It means I'm doing a good job. It means I'm on the path to leaving an impact, whether it's with people that are not gonna serve me in turn. But yeah, it's really where I left it at. Is it was just kind of, that was an awesome compliment, and then it totally evolved and changed my life.
How, and I've wondered this, but I've never asked you, how well did Hal tip that night?
Oh, Hal is a great tipper.
Okay, so it's
He's
a good
always
tip.
above 20%, no matter where he's at. Even if the customer service is not up to par like it should be, he is always a giver. He's literally the most generous man I've ever met. Tips or anything aside.
He is. So, like, fast track me. So you go home that night. Did he leave his number? How did this process go?
Yeah, so when he first opened the conversation, I was giving him some samples of beer, and he was like, you know, we just have this good vibe. I'm looking for somebody to add to my team. I currently have one team member. I want to expand that as I'm growing. I would love to have a conversation about potentially bringing you in. And I said, you know, I'm in my last semester of college. I've got a lot going on already. And honestly, this industry might not align with me, but I'm really flattered. Thank you. He said, well, have you read my book? And I answered with, no, I haven't. He's like, well, let me at least send you my book. If you're comfortable, can I have your shipping address? I was like, sure. And so gave him my shipping address, and he gave me his phone number on his card. I saved it in my phone as Hal Yardhouse, because that's where I met him. And I put book emojis next to his name so I can remember he was an author. And I got the book, and my ex-boyfriend actually read the book before me when I received it, and he ended up implementing it, and I watched his life change. But at this time, I was in 24 units in college, and I was working a full-time job. So I was already up and go-getting and all this stuff. So everything that I saw my ex implementing, I was already doing in my own fashion. So I kind of brushed off the book once again by saying, I already do that. There's nothing here for me. I need something different. And flash forward, about a month goes by. I'm stuck in traffic. I decide to pull over, and I have a book in my car, and it's that book. And I was like, I'll give it a try. Read it, finished it in one sitting, and immediately texted him. And at that time, we hadn't been in communication for a minute. He was like, yeah, let's chat. Let's jump on a Zoom call, and we'll see if there's a space for us to potentially collaborate. And there really wasn't at the time, with where his business was at, paired with him already having somebody that was helping out. So I offered the position of coming on for free as an intern, so that it would be at no cost for him and no cost for me except experience. So it was a win-win on both sides, because I could get a college credit for the internship, and then he could see if, one, we mesh well in the workplace, two, if our intellectual capacities were what we needed to vibe together, and then three, he got somebody to help out even if it didn't work out, right? So we ended up doing that, and then it catapulted in. I graduated, and I decided to stay on once he offered me an hourly position. And then about a year later, I became salary, and then I moved across the country. So here we are.
And here we
years later.
And here we are. You know, I really, really love individuals that come from rough paths. I really do. And I'm not going to dive back into that, Tiffany, because I don't want her to start coming off her chair again. I just want to put this out there. I'm going to state, if at any time ever, no matter what platform I'm facilitating, you decide that it's time to tell your story, I want to be the first.
Deal. I'm making
Okay.
it right here.
Okay, deal. You don't have a choice. We're recording. I'm just kidding. So I love how individuals with sorted past think differently than others, right? And
Yeah.
in the realm of business, to give maximum value to you purpose chasers, like, you have to think differently. And this is where the kind of the transition that I want to go in. And then I want to ask some more detailed questions around, what it's like. Cause I know Hal, he's a rabbit hole expert, right? Like, we should build this and we should do this. He's just like me, and like, let's do this and let's do this and let's do this. Like, Hal, what about these 5 other things that we've started? We just want to go build these other
Yeah.
things now. Yeah, he's just like me. And so what mind, like, where did you develop the mindset to structure the offer that you hit Hal with?
So it really came from the necessity of what I needed on my end, paired with just how perfectly it aligned with everything that happened leading up to meeting him and then reading his book after and actually connecting with it. But I needed an internship anyway. I already had one lined up with the marketing department, and that was what I wanted to do with my future. So it seemed perfect, right? Then that offer, I had to complete a list of steps in order to get it finalized. During that finalization stage is when I read Hal's book. And I was so cynical, closed-minded, whatever you want to call it, about the industry that Hal was in. So reading that book after meeting such a genuine human really kind of messed up with my whole plan, because I felt super motivated, for lack of a better word, and just overall empowered by reading that book, especially after meeting him, that my original plan didn't make sense to me anymore for some reason. And I just felt that at the end of the day, I could get more experience from going down the path of exploring what Elrod's world looked like. And by doing that, I had to structure it in a way, because I basically already told this guy no. So with needing the internship, proposing it the way I did, how can you say no? You're getting somebody who sought after you after you sought after them. Then they're saying, I'm going to work for you for free for 5 months. And then if we part ways, we part ways. How is that not? That's a total add value situation. So
So
I highly recommend that as a route for a lot of college students. I think it was, if I had to redo it again, I absolutely, in a second. It was so great on both sides.
yeah, and I want to dive into that, because I highly recommend that for entrepreneurs as well. And in the personal development space, which used to give Tiffany the heebie-jeebies, and sometimes it still weirds me out after, listening or learning about other individuals' work and following people, and then actually meeting them and finding out they're a tool, or they're like really egotistical or very self-centered. It rubs me the wrong way. And Hal was uh, a glimmer of light for me and hope, because I first met him at the Best Year Ever event before joining QLM, and I had been following him as a group of my friends were, Jesse being one of them. I think Jesse was actually the first person to get turned on to the Miracle Morning and start practicing, and brought it to the recovery community. And then,
Yeah.
there's a group of us entrepreneurs that just kind of drew to him. But I did have some expectations that Hal was going to be a dick. Like, I really did.
It's a really interesting world. It saddens me really, because it's one of the best industries. Obviously, it's centered around purpose, happiness, goals, all of the best things that give us fuel to create the change in the world. But just like anything can get tainted, this industry has that. So when you meet Hal, you hear it in his voice on his podcast, and you can literally feel his authenticity when you're reading his books. To meet him in person, it solidifies everything that you assumed about him being a good person. And I think that unfortunately is a rare quality with a lot of others in the community, but it speaks volumes, and it shows why he's so successful in the ways that he is because he seriously means it when he says he wants to elevate the consciousness of humanity. He means what can I do for you? He means how can I add value? It's not there's not a dollar sign hidden behind that offer of let me help. And obviously that's a byproduct of the work that he does. He makes money when he sells his books and his coaching and his events, but behind the adding value, which is one of the reasons why it's 5.5 years later working for him. He makes me a better person, both professionally and personally. And I have never had a job that has made me feel that way. And I've also never done something in my life where I'm so deeply affected by affecting others. It's such a bizarre world that I'm in that I'm so appreciative every day. It's continuously changing my life for the better.
I'm grateful for you. I really am. I'm grateful that Hal slipped you his number at the restaurant, as weird as that sounds. And I love how you combined.
It was his wife's idea, Ursula. She actually was sitting at the table, and he was like, I really need to hire someone like her. And she goes, why not hire her? So just like she named the Miracle Morning, made up the acronyms for Savers, she got me.
the brains. I love how you combined Elrod and World. Elworld.
Elworld.
That's a
new.
That's
a new. Elworld.
Hal Elrod. He'll love that, where he could drive his Tesla on his own planet.
Yeah.
So I want to dive into that further, and I want to give some behind the curtains look. How many inquiries because you're the gatekeeper essentially of Mr. Elworld, Mr. Elrod, right? So you're the gatekeeper. And for those of you who don't know what that means, Tiffany's going to go into it and explain it. But you go through Tiffany to get to Hal. Like, there is probably not a chance, if you're not higher up in the mountain of personal development work, if you're not on Hal's level or above him, you're probably not going to get direct contact with him without going through Tiffany. And you may not even get that if you are above Hal or on his level without going through Tiffany. How many inquiries do you get, let's say on a weekly basis, of individuals trying to jack Hal's time?
So every week, at least 100. Like, that's minimum. I actually knew you would ask this question. So this last week I was monitoring the numbers. I kept a little flow chart of it all. But it's about 20 a day. And that's minimum. Again, there's always pushes in certain times of the year, especially around New Year's and the holidays. A lot of people are ramping up their next best year ever. So that doubles almost. So he definitely gets a lot of people from an array of inquiries. It's not just podcasts. There's summits, there's book clubs. People want to bring him on to speak. There's addiction recovery people that want to bring him on a Zoom call. There are, what's a really unique one? There are people in the hospital that are begging for just a quick 5 minutes to motivate their friend who also was in a car accident. So there's a lot of things, and it's tough too, because obviously you can't say yes because he's only one man to everything, right? So it's hard at sometimes to fulfill the process that we have for the amount of inquiries that we get, because we do have to say no sometimes. And I believe you're going to agree with his mindset. Correct me if I'm wrong. A no is not a no. It's just not right now. So when I say no, I try to really come across with that, because Hal wishes he could say yes to everything, but unfortunately he's only one man. So we do have to say no. So if you get a no, just know it's not a no. It's not right now.
Yeah. And I share this a lot with the purpose chasers, and that is, the leverage needs to equal. So for me to proposition because it's Tiffany, like, if you know what you're doing, you're going to Tiffany, and Tiffany's going to bring it to Hal, right? So, but to proposition Hal for his time, or even Tiffany's time, because she's extremely busy managing 100 inquiries a week, and like all of the other things, that the amount of books that he doesn't even know how many he has written, and all the things that he does. you have to have the leverage. So it needs to make sense. You either need to bring value to that individual in such a way that they feel as if they owe this to you, right? They feel like there's nothing left for them to do but give to you, or it needs to make sense, whether that's financial or like whatever that play is. So you need to have the leverage. So if it's a no, then it's a no. And I actually, funny story, I actually reached out to get Hal on the podcast probably 2 years. I don't know if Tiffany remembers this.
I don't.
Probably 2 years before I actually went to Best Year Ever, met Hal at QLM, learned more about business, studied more leverage. And I was told no. You don't have I didn't have the downloads. I didn't have the list, right? Like I didn't have the numbers that their criteria was to get inside of the gate, if you will. And I didn't take it as a no, right? I took it as like, makes perfect sense. Like he has to vet his time. He has to evaluate. So can you talk about that, Tiffany? What's the vetting process, if you will? You can go into whatever details you're allowed to disclose or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone can email me as well. My email is tiffany@miraclemorning.com. I'd be happy to send our vetting process for anyone to copy. So what it is we created a landing page. It's a video of Hal that explains why we're putting them through this process, right? Because nothing kind of angers people more than when you give them a link to do something instead of giving them the answer that they're wanting. So Hal busted down that barrier with creating this video that explains why they're doing what they're doing. And then they click on this proposal form is what we call it. And when they click on it, it just asks very basic questions, but they're important questions. So there's the question of your information, what you're wanting from Hal, whether that's an affiliate or a potential collaboration on a new book or bringing him on your podcast, whatever that looks like. Then we ask numbers, as you mentioned. We ask how many people are on your list, how many downloads do you get on your podcast, and all that good stuff. Then you hit submit, and then within 15 to 30 days, we reach out to you if it is a yes. And if it's a no, we also will reach out letting you know that it's a not right now. So we definitely, it's a big thing for me because of knowing the amount of connections that we get in order to preserve those connections. So what I mean by that is when you get a no, because no's happen, that's part of life, remember to preserve that relationship would be my tip. Because when a lot of people get told to go down this proposal form avenue, they get angry or they get frustrated that they have to go through a process and they can't just have Hal's time. You just disintegrated that bridge, right? So if you have a no, just say, I'll follow up. Thank you so much for your time, and move on with it.
The worst thing you can do is piss Tiffany off in the process.
It's just, it really blows my mind. Anything in life, guys, if you get a no, end it on good terms.
Yeah. And the reality of it is every single, finally, I was taking screenshots of our conversation so I could have some social proof. And I finally got a picture of you smiling. All the other ones were like your eyes closed. Anyways, that'll stay in the recording. I finally got it for those of you listening. There's a gatekeeper in front of everyone. I mean, there's a gatekeeper in front of me.
And that gatekeeper, I challenge you to treat better than the person you're wanting to talk to. Because the gatekeeper, and I don't like referring to myself as that, but I guess that is the reality of it. So we're going to go with it. It really speaks to every part of your character if you're going to treat the assistant like trash when you're trying to talk to somebody else. It's just mind-blowing. So I
view your position. This interview's for me, Purpose Chasers, if you're listening. Like, I'm really trying to visualize the person that is going to work with me and protect me and work with me to build the brand. And I think that the position that you're in is like the most important position that Hal could ever hire for, because you're an ambassador of the brand. You are the gatekeeper. You're the protector of him in his world. Plus you manage all of the chaos and the creativity that's coming out of his head.
If you learn the person, whether you're an assistant, director of operations, whatever your title is, if you're working to help the everyday and longevity of somebody's career, like I am for Hal, I think the biggest thing that impacts both of us, so helps me and helps him, is I got to know him on a personal level and a professional level, which then helped me get, I call it my Hal filter. So I have my Hal filter in my brain where I know if something's lining up synergetically with where he's at in his current mind state of what he wants to add to his calendar. Because like you said, that calendar is a very sought after thing, and that calendar is a very tightly packed thing. So by me taking the time to not just be an assistant that answers proposals, I am an assistant that knows what Hal wants without having to bug Hal. That is a tool that no organizational app can help me outdo. Just knowing Hal deeply with where he needs and wants to be in the next few weeks helps me monitor all of those proposals, and it makes both of our lives easier. So get to know the person that you're working for truly and authentically, and it'll save so much time. You won't have to guess.
So give me the inside, right? So 20 inquiries coming at you today. Boom, they're in your inbox when you get off this interview. What's your mental process for filing them?
Yeah,
Like,
so
what is the no? I'm sorry. You have a scripted email. I know you do. Right.
So and that's actually another thing. I definitely have templates. Evernote is my go-to. I've got a template for everything. But I will say another side note, when you're sending templates, please make sure that a past name or something isn't in your copy and paste. Because we all use templates. They make life more efficient. Love it. Make them personalized. Taking the extra 20 seconds to add a line in about, I checked out your book on Amazon. Congrats on the new print, or whatever it is, transforms a redundant email. But anyways, the process when I get these inquiries every day is they all get funneled automatically into the proposal folder in my inbox. So they're already in their own area. I spend about an hour a day on those. I go through them, and like I said, I know where Hal wants to go, whether it's with his AYG podcast or what type of podcast he's looking to be on right now. And that's what I look for. I don't even look at the numbers at first. That is obviously the next step. But at first, I'm just looking at purpose. What's the purpose of what this person's writing in? And then I filter them out with the no's and with the yeses. When I get those yeses, I have about, I'd say 3 that make it up into what's in alignment with where he wants to go. And then from there, I look at the numbers, and I look at their reach, and I look at what they want to do beyond the interview or the collaboration. And then we go from there. And I'd say Hal probably hears about 5 a week. So out of those 100, he hears about 5, and he says yes typically to the ones that I bring.
That's such gold. Now, if you could leave the Purpose Chasers, please do not just start peppering Tiffany with emails that are going to fill up her time, or you're going to get a template and she may not change the name. Could you provide a couple tips to the community on how to actually leverage an approach? So let's say it's a no. Let's say one of the members of the audience that's listening has a podcast, and there's quite a few podcasters in the community. They have a podcast. They go to the forum. They clearly see that they don't have it because they're honest. Unlike a lot of people that lie about their numbers, most people that are telling people that their numbers are this, their numbers are not that, right?
I can fact check you.
Yeah. So could you are there ways for them to continue to nurture the relationship? Because, and I just want to share this for you listening, I didn't even immediately have an ask for Hal. Like, I knew I wanted him on my podcast, but I knew that at the point at the value that I had brought in the place that I had arrived, which kind of surprised me, honestly, I knew that asking to have him on my podcast was stupid, right? It was just like, it just would have been a waste. And instead, Tiffany, arranged, there's the dog, somebody's there. Tiffany arranged a podcast swap. So I didn't even have to really ask. Could you talk about how they could continue to build and nurture the relationship? Like, what are some ways that you would suggest doing research, or what have you, that they could continue to, they could turn the no into a yes?
Yeah, I'm actually dealing with this exact situation right now, with this gentleman who reached out sometime last year. And when he reached out, he initially did an offer. So he emailed me saying, I'm a big fan of Hal's. I would love to connect with him, but I realize his time is so valuable. I wanted to let you know I design websites. I would love it at any time. If you need any website help, I can design a page at no cost. Hal's changed my life. I just want to add value to him, and I'm good at what I do. And he blanketed at that. We didn't need any website help at the time. We have our own team. So I replied, wow, thanks for your generous offer. We had a little back and forth from there, and then he ended it. Checked in a couple months later, said, how's everything going? I just checked out your new site. Looks great. So he's staying in touch with what we're doing as we're moving forward, and preserving that connection between him and I, which then leads to Hal, right? And his emails are nothing but trying to add value and checking in, and they weren't self-serving, even though behind, obviously, there are intentions. But it was just it was the long game, right? So long game, and then added value. And then he checked in yesterday, haven't heard from him for a couple of months. And he pointed out a mistake he found on our website, saying like, hey, on today's podcast, this isn't hyperlinked. I just wanted to let you know. Just constantly having Hal's back. So when that conversation sparked, I said, thank you so much. I hope you've been well during everything that's going on. We had just a brief combo. He replied back. He's like, yep. And my offer still stands. Just wanted to let you know. I also started a podcast recently, and my podcast is really small. It will not be anything near that Hal has ever done. I only have 800 subscribers on my YouTube channel for it. And I just wanted to drop it out there that it's a dream of mine to have that happen. Sent him the link to the forum. I said, give me all the information you got. We'll see what we could do. We do have a process. I was super honest with him. And he said, thank you so much. Either way, I'm so glad that I have this connection with you, and I look forward to continuing getting to know you. Easy. That type of nurturing hits differently with the intention of what he's trying to do.
I just got goosebumps. Yeah. I just got well played. Do you remember his podcast name?
I do not.
Okay. I was going to drop it. If you'd have remembered it, I would have dropped it right now.
I don't.
Well played, my friend. That's how you play it, and you don't bullshit.
This immediate gratification that we all are guilty of gets in the way of nurturing the relationships to get you further. You could still get there without doing the long game, sure, but it's just so much more impactful, fulfilling. All avenues are just connected so much deeper when you are actually authentic about what you're doing. He meant it when he said, I can help with a website. And he meant it when he checked in, and then he did an ask. And guess what? It felt differently for me, because I can see there's effort. It's not just a copy and paste. I want to be on your podcast, and then you never reply because I send you a link of the form. That's fine too. But if you really do want to go to the next level, that's the way to do it. I was beyond impressed. And guess what? Hal's hearing about him today.
and he should be. And there's two main inquiries that I can see. One is I want to use Hal's platform to leverage what I'm doing. Then there's, I want to use Hal to leverage my platform and what I'm doing. There's an in-between road that builds long-term relationships. And if you can take a step back and I have some people that I'm seeking to leverage relationships with. I know what being in their world is going to do for me. And that's my vision. My visualization is same thing I said to Hal. I don't want to shake the hands that you're shaking. I want to watch you shake the hands, because I'm going to learn from you how to shake those hands. It's way more valuable to me to watch him navigate and see what the moves that he's making and how he's leveraging relationships that
Absolutely.
can be repeated, versus, hey, Hal, would you introduce me to so-and-so? That would be so amazing. Great. Hal's going to introduce me to so-and-so, maybe, or it's not going to make sense to him. He's going to feel pressured. It's going to be weird, right? Like introductions for me have come based off of organic introductions. Like
Yeah.
it just made sense.
When you take into account the patience factor of any relationship, whether it's business or personal, whatever it may be, it will always, like 10 out of 10, I would bet on it, come out way more beneficial and rewarding for both sides if you're going into it with authenticity, transparency, and genuine, and I cannot stress that enough, genuine wanting to help. Like you just want to help, and that's how the world works. There's win-wins on both sides. Your help, yes, can turn into them helping you, but showing it up with just that clear intention of just authenticity is going to take you to the next level. Start focusing on the idea behind just showing up and being there, instead of showing up with I want, I take. Just hits different.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, like, I recently shot a couple inquiries to higher level individuals to come on my podcast, and I have a way of, which I don't think I'm going to get into in this episode, but I have a way of finding out if they're who I think they are. So I have some things that I do in my
I need to hear that.
Yeah. So I really want to know if they are mission driven, if they are purpose driven, or is this about numbers? Is this about followers? Is this about that? Because I don't care about that. I don't care how many people I have on my Instagram. It's like 1,100. Like, I don't care. I can tell you that I can go on my Instagram and I genuinely know most of those people.
Yeah.
Like I have deep relationships with them, and I'm not in a place where I want to grow some massive following that I don't even know my own name. I'm really sitting with like what I want to do with the Purpose Chasers brand right now. Yeah. And the podcast is growing. And
even as you grow and you build this awesome community that you will build up to be an empire, similar to Hal's Miracle Morning community, there's 254,000 people in that group that are highly engaged. Hal still engages daily 4 hours a day in that community. So you can still have those same deep relationships when you look at your following list. It'll just evolve into something a little bit different as it grows. So I think you showing up with that mindset is going to carry on no matter how big you get, which is awesome.
What's the biggest pain point working for Hal?
That's a tough one. I've just so streamlined this job that I could do it with my eyes closed. Honestly, the biggest one right now is not having live events to do, because that's my favorite part, selfishly. Which thankfully, with everything going on in the world right now, we took 2020 off of his mastermind and his live event to kind of repurpose, recenter, and come back stronger and better. And that's one of the biggest, the hardest things is not having that to steer people to, because that is why that's my highlight of my job working for Hal, is steering people to Best Year Ever specifically. I think that event was incredible. So I'd say not having that to lead people to is my thing right now.
What are your current goals?
My current goal is landscaping right now. I'm landscaping my front yard.
You're doing it yourself, or you hired?
I'm doing it. I'm YouTubing and reading, and I'm gonna smash it. So that might seem small, but I am not handy. And this is going to be something I'm going to walk up to my house every day and be like, I did that. I built that. So that's
Now,
my goal.
was this, so I have to ask because I've done similar things. Was it financial driven, or was it something like you wanted to save the money, or like you actually
Kind of.
wanted to do
It was
it?
a hybrid of that. So the coronavirus happened, and we were actually saving up for our landscaping. And when the corona hit, and my husband went on unemployment, we thankfully had this money saved up for this landscaping project. And I go on walks every day with my dogs, and I see all these beautiful houses, and I still wanted that landscaping, but we now weren't in a financial position to afford to pay someone to do it. So I looked into how much doing all the things I wanted to do would be for myself, and I would save thousands by doing it myself. So I was like, well, I can afford to do it myself, so that's what we're going to do. And it's a fun social distancing project.
How far into it are you?
uh you know
She's like, I'm
not
still
far,
watching videos.
not that far. We're a week in. It's probably going to take 2 more weeks. We got this.
So I want to ask this for my own benefit. And whenever it's for my own benefit, I feel like it benefits the community as a whole. How often do you have to reel Hal back, and what systems or processes have you created to do that? So do you have like, so I think of my business mentor, and he'll go, okay, and he claps his hands. And I don't know how it started, but once he claps his hands, I know I'm off in the weeds somewhere and I need to bring it back.
Yeah, this question is probably the most valuable for people that operate. So I feel like you and Hal operate similarly in the sense of going down rabbit holes of new ideas. So we've created a system where it's mutual respect, right? So you have to have that to where he listens to me when I say, hey, we got to go back. And then I listen to him in the moments where he can, dive off and into his idea storm, right? So the tools that I use, and I have to use them every single day, is I'm short and sweet with everything with Hal. He's got ADHD, and his attention span just doesn't operate to where if I wanted to go into a full detail about like this guy I'm presenting him, the one that mentioned his podcast after adding value with the website, I'm not going to tell Hal the whole story. I'm going to show up to Hal and I'm going to say, this guy reached out. He added so much value. He has a small podcast. I really think you should do it. And he'll say yes or no. I don't need to give him the backstory because I'll lose him. So that's one of the big tools, is knowing how his brain works well enough in order to come at him with an approach that will not let him dive off of the road. And that really has changed my job for the betterment of it as a whole. It has added so much value to take the time to see what works for his brain to get me what I need faster and more efficient. And then the second part is when he does go off on a tangent, if it's a space and a time where I can't afford to have a tangent happening, I just say, hey, we really need to backtrack. We need to get back to point 2. And he respects me enough that he doesn't take any offense to that. And he goes, oh, okay, put a pin in it. And then I put a pin in it literally. And I remember to say, hey, the other day on our call, you started talking about this. Do you want to pick up that conversation? Nah, I forgot about it. Or, oh yeah, let's chat. And then
So you actually have a process for tracking his rabbit holes.
Yeah. So when they're rabbit holes that are, because sometimes his rabbit holes are personal stuff.
Oh, I know. I've talked with
when they're rabbit holes that are something that Hal could potentially benefit from personally or professionally. Absolutely. I have a note in Evernote that is things to talk about with Hal, and they're little thought bubbles. And I just kind of keep track of them. And if and when they get brought up, they get brought up again. But if we're in a space where I've got 15 minutes and I need him to answer these 15 things, where it's rapid fire, and that's what works best for him. So getting to know who you're working with in order to be the most efficient it's life-changing. Like my meetings went from an hour with him to 10 minutes. We can do it under 10 minutes just by knowing how to ask.
Is Evernote better than the iPhone Note?
I love Evernote. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, everyone, it's all relative, right? Everyone's going to have different interface preferences. The reason why I like Evernote is the search functionality. So I have so many hundreds of templates for everything. And the search functionality, I can type in mark and it'll highlight where the mark is, kind of like a Word document when you do it. That's my favorite. And then I just love the easy interface. The functionality is super seamless. Like it's great.
Because I had it downloaded and then I just stopped using it. Just fun
Really?
fact for you purposes.
If it's not a note, my favorite organizational tool is Trello lately. It's been, I just love how you can customize it. It makes it super fun to check things off and drag them. I don't know if, some people operate where they like, putting the X on their tasks. So Trello, fantastical for our coordinating calendars, and Evernote are my top 3 things that have changed my life for my job.
What do you want people to know about you? And I want to kind of preface this a little bit. Like, you're an absolute beast at life. And you said to me, or we were in communication about this interview, and I said, I know that this interview was what I envisioned it to be if you get job offers. Right. And it's like, I know you wouldn't leave Hal. That's not the point. Like, don't send her job offers. Or maybe, I don't know. But she's shaking her head no. She's not leaving Hal.
I'm
She's
staying
a
with
diehard.
Hal. Sorry.
She's a diehard. I'll steal her right now. Like, that was for me to see how she reacted. What would you want people to know about you?
Is this a personal or professional or a hybrid?
It is wide open. We already know a lot about you professionally. I mean, you're an absolute beast. I know you, and I believe that this interview has done a really good job. We haven't even gotten into the weeds. We could do a part 2 of this interview. No problem.
You're like the ultimate hype man. Feels so good.
No, I don't say that. Like, I'm not a smoke blower. You know me. If your breath stinks, I'll tell you. Right. But like, you are a beast. I see what you do.
I think that if I'm having a conversation with anybody and they ask me that question, obviously it's a loaded question. But I think the thing I would want people to leave when knowing anything about me is that it doesn't matter what happened in the past or who people say that you're going to be or where you're even at now. It literally matters what the hell you want and what you're willing to go get it. To go get it. And I think that we hear that's the most cliche thing ever. We hear that every single day, but I really believe that I'm living proof that you can be born into a trash situation where your whole life is panned out and it's not a pretty one. And you can look at that and say, F that, I don't want that, and totally change. And I think that that's the reason why hearing stories like yours and reading your book is so insightful, is because this person had all of these limiting factors holding them back, literally strapping them down, saying, nope, this is where you're going, and you have to break free from those chains. So when I get asked a question like that, I just want people to know that nothing is off limits in life. And I understand how that sounds. I know that sounds corny, cliche, whatever you want to call it, but that is the truth. 100% where you're at, if you're miserable, where you're at, if you're happy, where you're at, no matter what, you can get to where you want to be, and nobody but you is holding you back. And that's something I remind myself every day, even with my lawn work. My front yard will look great.
And that will be the intro to Tiffany coming on the Tiffany coming on the podcast to share her story. You stated you had more time, so if you need to stop me, go ahead. I want to ask a couple more questions.
Go for it.
Are you open to it? She would tell me no.
I'm finally getting a little comfortable. These are not my strong suit, but that's okay. I love getting out of my comfort zone.
You're good at them. But believe it or not, you're better than some high level people that I've had on this podcast.
I don't believe it, but I appreciate it.
Well, I hate the scripted bullet point. This is what I say on every single. Why do I want you to come on my podcast to have the same conversation that you've had on 8 other podcasts?
Yeah.
Like the whole podcasting industry just, it baffles me oftentimes. It's
That's
like,
why the most successful ones are the ones like Joe Rogan, where he just shoots the shit.
And he doesn't care. He will absolutely ask you. That's why I love Andrew Warner's podcast, Mixergy, because if you go on his podcast, you're about to get asked the questions that you don't want to get asked.
I love it.
So how many different things is Hal involved in right now? And are you managing them all? Professionally. Let's say professionally.
Yeah. So he's actually not too stretched right now because he's got one major focus, and that's the Miracle Morning documentary. It's coming out this year. It was intentionally going to be a theater release, but with COVID, things are switching up. So we have a team, which includes the producer and the director and a couple other team members. And we meet weekly about what this is going to look like with a virtual launch, which is where we're going for the movie premiere. But really, that's the only thing that Hal's hyper focused on. And I'm a part of that management, but we have a whole team. So that is solely not on Hal, and it's solely not on me. We've got a team of 5 of us working on making that happen. And then other than that, he's just got his regular day-to-day, which includes virtual keynotes right now, because typically he would be traveling, which I manage those. And then he's got his just interviews and his podcast. He's not creating any new products right now. He is just delivering the one major project, which has been 5 years in the making, the documentary. And that's really it. So it's a pretty awesome time for Hal and for me, because we're really having this space to hone in on all of the things that we typically wouldn't be able to serve and give as much value to, which it's been really nice. And the movie's going to be awesome.
It literally brings me so much joy to hear that, because the last time I had a conversation with him, he was over here and over there and over here and over there. And I was in QLM when it was like, we're done.
Yeah.
And I was like, everyone was like, oh, this sucks. What the hell? And I was like, good. They're like, what? And I'm like, dude, Hal's earned the right to spend more time with his family. He's my mentor. He's somebody I'm following. Like, please go spend some time with your family, because you're modeling what it looks like to be a super successful entrepreneur to me, and you've earned it. And I actually said that to him on a call. I don't think I was the catalyst in that whole development, but that really brings me joy, because, I'll share this with you. I'm sharing this with you as a friend. So I was doing a live inside of the Purpose Chasers community, and Megan came downstairs with little man. And I was like, all right, guys and gals, ask Megan anything. And one of the members asked, what's the downside of being married to Mark? And she goes, although he thinks he works 15 or 20 hours a week, he really works about 60 or 80.
Yeah.
I started crying.
That's a lot. Some precious family time.
But it's not work. And you know this, right? Like, it's not work to Hal. It's not work to me.
It's his literal life's purpose. Like, it is the reason he breathes.
One more email, one more this, one more recording. Let's do this or do this. And, the COVID-19 and the isolation has created so much relaxation internally for me. It was like, no, I'm focused on growing the mastermind and growing the digital marketing company. And as a result, like, some consulting clients have come on with me. I'm not doing life coaching right now. I launched the Purpose Chasers Academy, and I did 2 cohorts of 6 people. And that was just like, because I don't have a Tiffany in front of me. And this is why
down and recentering. That's what it feels like.
But I have to, because and I just want to acknowledge you more. Like, I don't have a Tiffany in front of me. I'm like Hal. I will give everyone everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm left feeling empty. And when when I'm coaching somebody, if they message me or email me or ask for an extra call, like I can't say no. I want them to win, right? So if I have a cohort of 6 people going through the academy and they're all messaging me throughout the week, and I'm on extra calls here and extra calls there and emailing here and sending this message, it's just like, nope, let's stop that. Now it's a digital product. So if you're listening to this and you want to go through the Purpose Chasers Academy, it is live for you right now.
Woo.
6 weeks, full tilt. Get it.
Saying no is a powerful thing for you professionally and personally. And I'm not going to speak for Hal, but I know that he definitely, from what I observed over the years working for him, really struggled with saying no, because he would put himself in the shoes of the person asking, right? He's like, I remember what it was like asking somebody that was my mentor for their time and getting shot down. So I just want to say yes. And there comes a point where, like I said earlier, you're one person. There is a time and a place for everything, and it will happen with those people that nurture the relationships. It'll all work out just like it did with you bringing Hal on your podcast. I think there is a lot more respect for what you're doing when you can say no, and you can say it nicely. Again, people think that there's such a bad thing with a no. A no is not bad. A no is a powerful thing that can help you continue on your path of your achievements. And we just need to allow ourselves to be okay with no's and to use no's for growth, because a no can be growth.
Did he ever bring to you an idea of a higher level mastermind?
Apart from QLM?
Yeah.
Or I mean, that definitely has always been in the talks.
Because I pitched him.
Yeah, so QLM started that way, right? And then it just evolved into the size that it was. And we did lose the intimacy in the group as the numbers grew. So there was always conversation of him coming back with something better and stronger, which is our complete intention when we come back in 2021 or whatever that looks like. So it will not be QLM when we come back. It'll be completely restructured and totally different in the sense of how we add the value, which I'm really excited for. So I think the answer is yes to your question.
Good. Well, because I had a conversation with him and QLM was still going, and I don't even know if he knew that it was gonna,
Last minute he knew when he was.
Yeah, all going on pause. But I said, Hal, I would pay you a decent amount into the 5 figures to have access with you in an intimate setting. And I said, and I know 3 people in my circle right now that would jump in as well. And he's like, really? So, but then I was like, no, let's just table it. Cause I wanted more than I wanted him to create something new. I wanted him, like, I've sent him text messages like, dude, love that picture of you playing with your family brought me so much joy. Thank you. And then I'll send him a picture of little man. And that's another thing. For those of you that are listening, like, I have his cell phone number. I have not done a single ask. Like, it's literally, it's literally like, I brings me joy when I see him with Ursula, and, they're out in the world doing things. Like, they're sitting with the Osbournes in the cul-de-sac, watching the movie with the McCarthys. Like, they all live together now.
They're all in their little pocket in the neighborhood.
I know. This little cul-de-sac. That's what I've called it. The cul-de-sac. Tiffany, I am so grateful for you and who you are, and also for who you are for Hal, because, and I can say this, I follow some people online, but he is the one person that I literally, like, I follow. And not from a place of, like, I think he's better than, because he doesn't come off that way as well. But I, through my past and what I've been called to do, like, I was truly seeking somebody to walk ahead of me that I could follow, that I know that when I got to their level, I was going to be truly content with the man that I was. And how is that to me? I don't, for whatever reason, believe that, like, money couldn't send him off another path. And I'm sure it has, But I know one thing is that his practice and who he is as a human, and Ursula will say something to him, right? Like, will bring him back to course. And there's just so many thought leaders that get greedy and get successful and become tools. So thank you for who you are.
Thank you too. I really appreciate it.
So for those of you listening in the Purpose Chasers audience, if you want to vote for Tiffany to share her story, please, I will send every inquiry and every response that I get over to her at the time of this release. That's her ending. That's her ending. That's Hal calling. Like, can you get off that episode? Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on. I truly, I have so much love for you and who you are. And I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful that I was interested in connecting with you and truly getting to know Hal than being focused on how can I get what I want, because now knowing you and knowing how aligned we are and putting the time in to get to know you, I know that would have never happened. And I would have missed out on, getting to know you. So you're an epic human. And if you are ever looking for a job, Hal, please send it. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Mark. Loved it. Love you.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. If you're ready to take action, don't wait. Head over to thepurposechasers.com to access notes, resources, and a host of other tools to keep you moving forward. And if you want to supercharge your digital presence, visit scaletosaleconsulting.com to partner up with my team and amplify your impact. Let's turn your purpose into your biggest asset. Until next time, keep chasing, keep creating. Your purpose awaits.